Occupations can reflect a regional and personal identity. Along the United States-Mexico border, traditional occupations tied to the land, like ranching, have a long history. The border fosters other occupations born from special circumstances, such as the availability of inexpensive labor, a bustling tourist trade, and the control of people crossing the border. For many, ranching is a way of life in the lower Rio Grande Rio Bravo region. The dry open ranges of South Texas and northeastern Mexico create an ideal area for raising large herds of cattle.
The cattle industry as it exists today had its origins in Spain. It was brought into Mexico by the Spanish visitors that came in the 1500s.
One of the occupations connected to ranching is that of the cowboy or vaquero. A vaquero's identity is evident in the clothing he wears, the equipment he uses, and in the skills he's learned over a lifetime.
I was born and raised in a ranch in South Texas. I come from a big family of 10. My father was a cowboy, my grandfather was a cowboy, my great-grandfather was a cowboy, and all my brothers and myself.
Identity can also be tied to the terms used to refer to oneself. When speaking English, Omar Galvan calls himself a cowboy. In Spanish, however, he is known as un vaquero completo.
There's a distinction between a cowboy and a vaquero on the South Texas ranches. Cowboy might be the guy who's 20, 25, takes his pickup truck and his gooseneck trailer and works cattle using hydraulics. But the vaquero completo knows the entire range of the cattle business. These are the fellows who fix windmills called papalotes. These are the guys who built the fences as well as going out there and working the cattle. Some of these older cowboys can tell you by sight which calf belongs to which cow.
At the Smithsonian's Festival of American Folklife in Washington, D.C., Omar described a typical day's work for a cowboy.
Nos levantamos muy de mañana, en veces a las 3 de la mañana, algo otras veces a las 4, pero teníamos que estar al amanecer, arriba del caballo ya listos para ir a rodear los potreros.
Omar is retired now and no longer lives on a ranch. He still identifies himself as a vaquero, though, and is often called upon to guide younger, aspiring vaqueros. Many people working along the border are influenced by ranches and their history. Armando Flores, a blacksmith, was inspired by his family's involvement in ranching.
Throughout my years growing up, both sides of my family, my mother's side and my father's side, all the folks in our family were ranch hands or worked in ranches all their lives. On my mother's side, I'm the first generation that did not grow up on a ranch, that did not do ranch work. On my father's side, I'm the second generation that were pulled out of the ranch. So I've always heard from when I was a kid stories about blacksmiths and how resourceful those people were and how they would repair wagons and plows and all kinds of stuff, make implements for the ranchers and stuff. So I kept that in the back of my mind somewhere, and as I progressed in my blacksmithing skills, I brought that back. So now I go to the scrap yards and look for items that I'm able to recycle into something else, whether it be decorative or practical form.
Other occupations like rope and basket making continue in ranching regions of the border. Arturo Carrillo Strong, an author and former border investigator, explains that ranching is not the only occupation with a long history in the region.
The smuggling business is one that has been handed down from one generation to another. The old smuggling routes of the tequileros goes back centuries, and these routes are inherited and handed down to the children.
Since the early part of this century, the United States government has increased its patrol of the border to monitor traffic of people and goods between the two countries.
My name is Reynaldo Hernandez. I'm with the United States Border Patrol, part of the branch of the Immigration Service. And my job is to stop the illegal immigration of illegal aliens from all parts of the world that are coming into the United States. I was born and raised in South Texas. For the past 16 years, I've been involved in the enforcement of contraband directly right on the river in South Texas. Now right on the what we call the line, the linea in Nogales. I was born and raised on a horse and worked with these King Ranch cowboys at one time. And when I went to the area where I'm now in, we started up a horse patrol, and we have been able to apprehend narcotic violators on horseback partly because now we're using the traits or the tools that they are using, countering what they are using. And it also helps us in the tracking of these illegal aliens. My background in ranching allows me to track and apprehend a lot of narcotic and illegal alien violators.
The availability of inexpensive labor has lured many U.S. companies to relocate their assembly plants to the border. These plants are known as maquiladoras. In many cases, the U.S. companies exploit their workers and pollute the environment. One maquila worker offers a description of her work. The work is very hard, very dirty. You work with metals, and all the time you are shaking off shavings and picking out splinters. Other occupations have benefited from the thriving tourist industry of the border. In Tijuana, a group of Mixtecas have organized themselves to sell crafts to tourists. In the Plaza de Santa Cecilia, these women display their goods in specially designed carts. The Mixtecas, originally from rural Oaxaca in southwestern Mexico, migrated to the border, which is a midpoint between the agricultural fields of Mexico and those of the United States, where many of their husbands find seasonal work. Ofelia Lidia Santos, president of the Unión Mixteca de Comerciantes y Artesanos de Artículos para el Turismo, explains.
Que somos puras mujeres y nuestro marido se vienen para Estados Unidos a trabajar y nosotros nos quedamos a Tijuana a trabajar tampoco porque somos mujeres que estamos luchando para sacar nuestro marido para adelante y nuestros hijos. No queremos que andan sufriendo. No queremos que andan sufriendo igual que nosotros. Por eso nosotros nos organizamos entre de mujeres, nos estamos ayudando unos de los otros porque somos gentes trabajadoras.
From the clothing of a vaquero to the union card of a Mixteca vendor, occupations along the border help define people's identities. Occupations change over time, but the border itself creates circumstances that affect the working lives of its residents.
Para bailar la bamba se necesita una poca de gracia. Si una poca de gracia y otra poquita, y arriba, y arriba. Si arriba y arriba y arribirás. Yo no soy marinero, yo no soy marinero, soy capitán, soy capitán, soy capitán. Baila bamba, baila bamba, baila bamba. En mi casa me dicen el inocente porque tengo muchachas, entretengo muchachas, el inocente. En mi casa me dicen, si en mi casa me dicen el inocente. Y arriba, sí, y arriba, y arribirás. Yo no soy marinero, yo no soy marinero, soy capitán, soy capitán, soy capitán. Say it.